Most people, once they've been involved in an accident and they come in for a consultation, they bring in their policies or they don't. Either way, it's totally fine because under the law, their insurance company has to give it to us. So the first thing that we go over is insurance, because most people don't have any idea what is on their policies and what those things on their policies actually cover. So I want to go over that so that everybody kind of has a better idea of what is going on their policy. And if they don't have these things on the policy, it's better to know now so that you can be properly covered before something happens. I'm Kate Hatfield with Hatfield & Hatfield. If you've been involved in an accident, give us a call at 904-446-9990. We're located right here in Jacksonville. We're happy to take your call and give you a free consultation. All right, so after you've been involved in an accident, you usually have at least 3 claims going at the same time. So this side is going to represent you and your insurance company, and this side is going to represent the other party, the at-fault party, and their insurance company. So the first thing that we need to know, in the state of Florida, a lot of people have the misnomer of full coverage. Full coverage is a variety of things, okay? What a lot of people tend to think is full coverage is actually legal coverage. Legal coverage is your PIP and your property damage. So PIP is your personal injury protection, sometimes known as no-fault benefits, and your PD or your property damage is that portion of your policy that actually goes to fix or repair damages you may have caused to another party's property, not your own. So as you can see, these have 2 different things because you need to have the property damage on your own policy, but your property damage is not what is going to cover your vehicle if you are involved in an accident. And we'll go into that in a little bit. So the first thing that we need to look at is the property damage is the first claim. The second claim is going to be for your PIP, which is for your medical benefits. And then up here is where you actually, the purpose of hiring an attorney in where you would be getting your compensation or your benefits from if you are injured in an accident. So the first thing that we need to go and look at is whenever we're involved in an accident, there's going to be 2 facets of it. The liability, which is the who's at fault part, and then after that's been determined, we shift over to the damages portion. Damages is a whole nother animal that we'll get into later. But when we're dealing with the property damage, right? The damage to your vehicle or any contents within your vehicle. A lot of times people are rear-ended and they've got things that are inside of their trunk that also get it damaged. That falls into this category as well. So let's say there is no issue as far as the liability or the who's at fault. That means the at-fault's property damage portion of the policy should be paying to repair your vehicle or total it out. Keep in mind, in the state of Florida, this is only a policy of usually up to $10,000. In this day and age, that doesn't really go very far. That's why you need to make sure, if it makes sense financially for the value of your vehicle, that you also carry collision on your vehicle. So let's say that the at-fault portion's insurance company has not accepted liability, or they're claiming that you are partially responsible for the crash. Their PD will not pay for the entire $10,000. They might only pay a portion of it. So you'd be wanting to go under your own policy and going through that portion of collision. Now, if you don't have collision and they either don't have an active policy or they're claiming you are at fault for this crash, then they will not be paying to repair your car. So you will be out of pocket here if you do not have collision. So check your policies. Okay, so the next thing that after you've been involved in an accident, you need to figure out, were you injured? If you are injured, your PIP, which is your personal injury protection, like I said, the no-fault benefits, that is up to $10,000. Now, regardless of whether or not you have health insurance, your PIP in the state of Florida is your primary health insurance if you've been involved in an automobile accident. You do not get access to the at-fault party's PIP. Only your own PIP. That's why it's called personal injury protection, okay? So personal injury protection or your PIP benefits can pay for your medical bills, any kind of treatment afterwards, any diagnostic testing. If you need prescriptions, they will do a portion of reimbursement. It will also reimburse mileage. It can reimburse household help. So if you needed to hire somebody to clean your house or to mow your lawn, those types of things come out of PIP. But keep in mind, it's only up to $10,000. So that goes very quickly, especially if you've had a visit to the ER. The other thing to make sure that you are noticing or mentioning that I'm mentioning about PIP is that you have to have sought medical treatment within 14 days of the crash in order to still get these benefits. So if you do not seek treatment within the first 14 days after a crash, your own insurance company could reject the coverage and not give you $10,000 worth of PIP benefits. Okay? The most frequently asked question I have as far as PIP is, why do I have balances? Well, your PIP is only going to pay your medical bill at 80%. Now there are different coverages that you can purchase, like MedPay, and obviously if you have health insurance, that will cover the remaining 20%, but for purposes of just PIP coverage, it is going to pay a medical bill at 80%, okay? Now, what that means is, if you go to the hospital and your bill is $1,000, that means your PIP is going to kick in $800 and leaving you $200 or 20% of the bill that's going to be your responsibility, even if you were not at fault for the crash. Okay? So what that means is that we go up to this level, to the at fault, and we look to see whether or not they have BI or bodily injury coverage on their policy. And we say, hey, at fault insurance company, but for the negligence of your insured, I wouldn't have this 20% balance. You need to pay me. Okay? Now, obviously, 20% is just the bottom of what it is that we were asking, what you're legally entitled to as far as compensation. However, for purposes of just the general conversation as far as insurance that we're having today, we're just going to go with this. Okay? So when we're looking at BI, and this is a good time to actually look at the policy. So we can look at a policy and you can look to see whether or not they have BI coverage. Now, it doesn't matter, again, we're not looking at BI on your policy. We are only looking as far as the at fault. And just like they can do down here with the property damage, if there is any kind of issue as far as potentially a liability issue or comparative negligence, meaning they're finding you to be a portion at fault, then that percentage as far as what the amounts available to you could change. Okay? But what we're looking for is whether or not they have BI, because in the state of Florida, they are not required to have it. It is not mandatory. Like I said, what is mandatory? This and this. That's it, okay? So whether or not they have bodily injury coverage, we have to consult the declaration page from the insurance company. These tend to come in policies. If they do have it, the minimum is $10,000, $25,000, $25,000, $50,000, $50,000, $100,000. That's what it would look like on your policy. So what does this mean? If you've got a 1020, what that means is any one claimant can get up to $10,000, or all claimants would be splitting $20,000 pro rata for their injuries. So what that means is, let's say I'm alone in my car and I am involved in a crash with someone who is also alone in their car. Well, there is no issue there, right? We know if there's a 1020, the most I could get would be $10,000. But let's say I was alone in my car, but the at-fault driver had a passenger, or let's say 2 passengers. So in that case, any one of us bringing a claim, because the at-fault driver having passengers, those passengers potentially have a claim against the at-fault driver, right? They had no negligence because they were just involved as passengers. So that means they too are entitled to bring a claim. And what that means is any one of us could get up to $10,000, or all 3 of us could be splitting $20,000. Okay? So like I said before, bodily injury, not required in the state of Florida. So if they do not have BI, or they don't have enough BI. If my injuries are in excess to the amount of their coverage, we would go over here and look to our own coverage to see the UM. That stands for uninsured motorist, if there is 0 BI, or underinsured motorist, if the policy limits for BI are not enough to cover my injuries. So therefore, you could make a primary claim if there's no BI, or a secondary claim if there is BI, but the limits are not enough to cover my injuries. You know, a lot of times when you're at the scene, somebody might give the police officer an expired insurance card, or they might not be aware that their insurance has lapsed for some kind of reason, or sometimes we have the fact that the policy is in effect at the time of the crash, but then for various reasons the insurance companies can go back and actually void out the policy, usually for some kind of misrepresentation on the application to begin with. If that's the case, then no policy here. You would only be looking at your own, which is why it's really important to protect yourself and know what is available to you should this not exist, right? So we want to make sure if you've got a very old car and the insurance payments to add collision don't make sense, then obviously that's between you and your agent to make that decision. But a lot of times if you have a vehicle that's financed, you have to have collision, right? That's part of your finance agreement. But I would absolutely recommend you have and I would absolutely, if it makes sense, have collision. Because these are the two things that I would say most people are so surprised because they have no idea until after the accident, and then it's too late.
Yes.
So.
That is very good. I had no idea, personally.
Yeah, I don't think most people do. They say, what do I need in order to drive? Yeah. And then they say, oh, boop, boop. And then when they get hit, they're out of luck, right? So that's kind of what we go over in an initial consultation, so that I want my clients to understand exactly, not just through this crash and going through the process, but God forbid it happens next time, you can go back. We actually just had a client where he didn't have this. We told him, you need to go and get this. He got hit again, did not get this. And he called and he said, I know I didn't get it. Is there anything that can be done? And there wasn't, because there was nothing here. So, honestly, we hate to see it because we don't want people to be hurting to have no recourse, right? Now, keep in mind, this is America and you can sue anybody for anything, right? However, if they don't have this coverage, you can pretty much guarantee that, you could get a judgment, but are you ever going to collect on that judgment? So that's kind of what I want to educate my clients, so that they understand exactly what they need, exactly what we are looking for and what we have to work with. So that if you've got a positive finding on your MRI and got some kind of pain management and there's only a 10/20 policy, we want to quickly get this over to the insurance company so that the money can go to you. You can figure out how to spend your own money, versus you just treat for a really long time and then you're out of pocket because there's just not enough to go along, right? Or go around. So part of our job as your attorney is to get this information as quickly as we possibly can so that we can counsel you on however it is that, you want to make the decisions. Ultimately, as your attorney, I work for you. Right. You're in the driver's seat. I can counsel you. I can give you my recommendations, but ultimately you're the one making the decisions. And you're not making it alone. I'm counseling the entire way, right? Another question that we get all the time, and that's not really a whiteboard question, is about doctors, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing about it, is when we're dealing with PIP, your doctor is whoever you choose the doctor to be, as long as your doctor bills PIP, right? So what ideally for our clients who have health insurance, we want to get them in with the doctor that we know once the PIP is exhausted will go ahead and roll over into their health insurance. Another thing a lot of people don't know is that when you're involved in an accident and you are making a claim against another party for some kind of compensation, if you use your health insurance for medical treatment, that health insurance company gets to maintain a lien, meaning they get the opportunity to get paid back for anything that they pay out as far as treatment relating to your injury.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
A lot of people don't know that. So if you go and go outside in your front yard and you trip on a skateboard and you need to go to the emergency room and your health insurance pays for it, obviously they're not allowed to maintain a lien then. However, if you get hit by a car as a pedestrian, you get PIP, right? So your PIP will come into effect if you are in a car accident, if you are in a bicycle accident, or if you're a pedestrian. Okay? Now here's another question that people always ask. So I'm involved in an accident and I'm a passenger in somebody else's car, but I own my own car. Guess what? My PIP, not my driver's PIP, my PIP is in play here. That's why it's called personal injury protection. So your auto insurance will follow you if you are driving somebody else's car, or you are a bicyclist, or you are a pedestrian, or you are a passenger in somebody else's car. Okay? So a lot of people say, why do I have to use my insurance? Right? Well, A, it's the law. Okay? And B, you have insurance. Use it. Why would you not? You're paying for it. Okay, so as long as your doctor knows how to bill PIP, ideally, like I started to say before, we want to get you in with a doctor that once your PIP is exhausted will roll over into billing your health insurance. That's why we want to work with you as far as getting you, whoever's in network, because ultimately we want the cost and the most of your potential settlement or jury verdict, all of that money, we want more of it to go to you than out to your medical bills. Okay? But I can tell you most primary care physicians, PCP doctors, will not see you after you've been involved in an accident. You can try to call, tell them you've been involved in an accident. 99% of the time they're going to tell you we don't treat accident victims. Okay, so that's another thing that we would assist you with. We do not in any way control or navigate your treatment, but we will assist you in getting you to a doctor that will accept PIP and hopefully, if you have it, your health insurance. I'm Kate Hatfield with Hatfield & Hatfield. If you've been involved in an accident, give us a call at 904-446-9990. We're located right here in Jacksonville. We're happy to take your call and give you a free consultation.